Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast.
My name is Wendy.
And I'm Sanjana, and you're listening to Whatchamacallitt.
What's up? It's been a while.
I know.
Been good, hey? Just missing the old Whatchamacallitt podcast.
I know. Hey, talking about Whatchamacallitt, there's a lot of people who've been, saying it wrong.
What do you mean?
They don't know how to say Whatchamacallitt, nor do they know how to spell Whatchamacallitt. Remember how we were explaining it to someone? They're like, oh, how do I search it up? How do I search it up on YouTube?
How do I spell it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I remember that. Yeah,
it's pronounced the way... It's spelt the way it's pronounced.
Yeah.
Actually, today we wanted to speak about self-confidence. And just touch base on our experience and how we sort of tackle with having confidence versus not having confidence in a situation, I guess.
What it means to each of us as well. So,
correct.
Because it's such a different... Everyone has such a different perspective on things, so... Yeah.
Yeah, and then also maybe speak on about how you guys can possibly tackle the having lack of self-confidence. What are some of the techniques or ways that you could use to combat that? Because not everyone's going to be confident 24/7. You know, there's going to be times where you might, for me, my motto is fake it till you make it. I may not be looking like I'm 100% confident, but inside I'm dying. I'm I don't know if I can do this. What if I'm not good enough? These are the things that are constantly rolling through my head.
I honestly would have never guessed, because you've always been such a confident person. I'm wow, this girl's so hot. The confidence, it doesn't show that you're dying on the inside. I've always just been she's so confident.
High key dying on the inside. And recently I've realized, I think when I mean recently, probably the last 2.5 months, I just felt I just kept diving. My self-confidence, externally it might have been okay, but internally, I just haven't been able to sort of deal with it really well. And I don't know if it's because of just issues in life where I felt I wasn't good enough, or just in general not being able to perform at my capability, let's say at work or as a friend or in a relationship. And I feel I do this thing where I just I don't think it's very good, actually. For example, where I kind of bleed my friendship into my relationship, or work bleeds into personal life, or personal life bleeds into work, in a sense that if something's really going on in my life that's really affecting me, it's quite prominent. Say, for example, if my personal life is being affected, right? And it was, and it kind of bled into my work lifestyle. So my ethic at work was compromised, and I think because of that, my self-confidence at work, just plummeted down. And I started just really overthinking things, and I'm oh, am I doing the right thing? Because obviously in my profession, you kind of have to be 100%. So I am a medical scientist, so at my job, you can't make mistakes. Every single thing that you do has to be 100% accuracy and 100% precision. So every single thing that you replicate, or any samples that you analyze, have to be at most amazing quality. And what I mean by amazing quality, the results that you put out have to be accurate. There'll be times where it might not be, it might be false positive or false negative, and my job as a scientist is to ensure that that doesn't take place. Because obviously if I put out a wrong result, every result has my name attached to it that I put out, and if that happens, then the doctors will call up and be well, what the heck, I could have possibly, or I probably did give my patient the wrong treatment. So that was one of the, I guess, scenarios for me where I find it a bit hard to draw the boundaries a little bit. And I don't know if you remember, in the past, I think I had some similar issues. Who was it with? I can't remember who it was with, but I sort of had the issue to say no, or saying oh, I don't know if I can do that, or I don't know if I want to do that, and sort of just doing it because I just felt obligated to do it.
Okay.
Maybe it's something to do with that, but so recently that's been exactly what's happening. So yeah, I've been trying to find ways to sort of deal with it. but it's been a little bit difficult because I feel like sometimes for me, like if I use like a certain practice in place, and if that doesn't show any difference, I immediately get really disheartened and I go, oh, why is it not working?
Oh.
Instead of being like patient and going, you know what, it actually takes time. It's not one of those things where it's like a one-day fix or like a one treatment just fix it all. It's not like a freaking face mask. Like it just, you got to use it like all the time. So yeah, that was one of the things.
So when you say treatment, okay, well, first of all, what does self-confidence mean to you? Like, what does it mean in your life? In you know, in your perspective, what does having self-confidence mean?
I think self-confidence conveys a message from like what I think about it is that like you're confident about yourself. Let that be like, it doesn't matter your flaws or your strengths and stuff. Like you're aware of it, you're well aware of it, and you know that you have these flaws, and you're okay with it. I feel like self-confidence is being okay with what you have at any situation and going, you know what, this is what I've been dealt with and I'm going to make the best out of it.
Okay.
So that's sort of like what I think it is. And I think it's also the outlook that you have in life. So like for me, self-confidence it also means like being positive. Like, look, it's really hard to be positive all the time.
Oh, it's just, you can't be positive all the time.
And I just feel like sometimes if you are, you're like, are you really positive? Like, are you really happy? Like,
yeah.
Maybe that's just...
No, we definitely all have our moments of sadness and like different moments. I don't think it's normal to be happy. I think it's in like today's media.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, there's certain people that are always saying, be happy, be positive, be this, be that. And I'm like, that's not reasonable, because if you're forcing someone to be happy all the time, then when they're sad, it's very crushing, because they're like, I'm not supposed to be sad. Oh my God, why am I sad?
They don't know how to take failure.
And that's not, I don't think that's healthy. I think it's healthy to acknowledge your sadness and also acknowledge your happiness, like, you know, ride the wave through your life, not just be positive.
But you know what's so funny? I like put myself down when I get sad.
But you shouldn't.
I know, but I'm like, why am I sad? Like, I get into that attitude. I'm like, well, there's bigger issues and people dying in the world. Like, why the hell am I sad? Like, and I know that's quite toxic, actually.
But then what about you when you're happy? Do you say like, oh, what are you so happy for?
No. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm happy. Like, yes, I'm top of the world. I'm living my best life, getting this coin.
So then why is it that when you're sad, you don't acknowledge... And hold space for your sadness?
I think it's because I have this expectation of myself to be a certain type of person. And I don't know if it's because I don't think the society expects that of me, but I think I expect that of myself, and I think that the society expects it of me. Like, for example, like if you see someone who's always happy and they're having a really sad day, like it's a lot more noticeable than someone who's like almost like a roller coaster. Do you know what I mean? Like they're happy but they're sad, but then having a bad day, but then having a great day the day after. You don't really think too much about it. You're like, oh, it's just her routine self. But when someone's like always happy, like I'm not saying that I'm putting out like this fake happiness. Like I'm not. But when I do get sad, I don't really take the time to acknowledge it. I go, no, you're not sad.
Okay.
Like, no, these feelings are not valid. Like,
it's almost you're denying it. You don't want to admit that you're actually sad, because that means you might have to face your feelings.
Oh God, yeah.
How do you feel about facing your feelings?
Deep-rooted issues here. Yeah, for sure.
But I can see how that would affect your self-confidence, because your identity is all this very happy. You're like a very energetic, upbeat person, and for you to be sad or deviate from that is like, it is scary, because you're like, this is my identity. So it's almost like you're like, holy fuck, what am I supposed to do now?
Yes. Oh my God, yes. That's actually so right.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, my personal view of self-confidence is pretty similar to yours. It's like, you know, knowing that you have flaws, knowing that you have strengths, but accepting all of those things and just proceeding as yourself. Like being yourself. I think self-confidence is being yourself and being truly comfortable in that situation. And maybe you do have anxiety. Actually, I should say being truly confident in that situation, but despite having anxiety, but still trying to be your best self and being yourself in that moment. And I think that's self-confidence. Because like, you can't always be calm. Like,
no, you can't.
The situation's like, you can be self-confident, but inside you can be like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, what's happening? That's me. That's
like
me.
24/7.
That's me as well.
No, for sure. And I get like that when I'm in a situation where I'm quite unsure of the outcome.
Yeah.
So if I don't know what the outcome is, then I get really anxious and my anxiety like kicks in and I just start, my head starts racing. I get a headache. Like I feel like I just need to be like, I want to know the answer straight away. And then I start thinking about the future, but I don't know what to think about the future because I don't know what the outcome is. So I've become into this like overdrive, like control freak in a way, but just for myself. Like I wouldn't do that for anyone else. And then I just burn out.
It sounds really exhausting.
Yeah.
Like mentally exhausting.
Very.
So do you think that, so it kind of seems like we started with self-confidence, but it's actually much more deep-rooted because I feel like when you feel good and when you have like good things happening in your life, it's easy to feel self-confident. It's easier to start like, you know, feeling good. But then when everything's going wrong, you start losing that a little bit.
Yeah.
You start doubting yourself.
Yeah.
That's what I feel.
And I think maybe that's something to do with the fact that maybe I'm not confident in my ability to overcome situations, maybe, even though I've proven to myself time and time again that I'm able to like overcome obstacles. Maybe that's where I feel like, oh, maybe you just can't do it. Maybe you can't get over it. Like maybe you just can't do this job or you can't do that. Like, yeah, I don't know. But I think that's one thing I think for me that I'm working on like a lot. But in recent times, it's really sort of like seeped out and became a little bit worse than it should. I feel like in the past, maybe I've been a little bit ignorant to my mental health, where I didn't really focus on it too much, and sort of like now I'm sort of like really taking the time to think about why something makes me feel some type of way and why am I not confident to do certain things. Maybe that's why good. It's affecting me a lot more than it should. But
so
yeah,
now everything's becoming like too real almost. You're like forced to face that because you're realizing all these things. I think that's normal. I think that's normal. Okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No.
Because I think like when you're not used to having to deal with it so like right in your face, you're like, oh, it's really overwhelming. Right?
I know. And I think one thing I think I mentioned ages ago is that like I have to be mentally prepared for anything for me to deal with. Like for example, if someone was like, Sanjana, let's go like skydiving tomorrow, I'm like, no. Like you need to give me at least give me like 3 business days. Like I need to mentally prepare for this. And I think that's a good thing and a bad thing. I feel like sometimes you just can't mentally prepare for stuff. Like it just happens. Like life just happens.
Literally.
And you just have to like pack your bags and just leave if that has to be. Like, you know.
Wait, what? Pack your bags and leave?
As in like you got to check out and then sort of just deal with the problem. Like you can't really postpone it and be like, no, I'll deal with it in 3 business days. Like I just need when issues are right in front of you, you just have to deal with it. I think that's one thing I've always just been like I just need like mentally prepare myself.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Totally get that. But do you feel that if you're thrown into a situation where you're completely unprepared, completely mentally, you have not prepared at all, you don't know what to say, don't know how to script, like for me, I script things. So when I used to be really shy and anxious, like in high school, before I'd call someone, like if I had to call a freaking doctor or something, I'd literally script it in my head. I'd be like, this is how the conversation's going to go. Hello. Hi, I'd like to book an appointment. And I'd script out and think about everything I'm going to say before I say it, because otherwise I'd just be like, and just stutter on my words, because I was just so not confident in myself, just like didn't know, like I just didn't know how to, you know, fluidly move on in conversation. And I still struggle with that sometimes. But yeah, like... And
it can be hard, especially if you like don't know what to talk about, like... Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's different when you're calling for an appointment to be made at a doctor. You'd be like, you know, I need this appointment done. Like, but if it's like you're meeting someone new for the first time, like, I feel like you have to channel your self-confidence a lot more.
Okay.
Because, like, well, I feel like that anyway. Because
oh yeah, 100%.
Because, like, obviously you don't know this person, so you don't know if the conversation's going to be fluid, and you don't know if you're going to vibe with this person the way that you expect. And you don't know what the outcome is like.
It's such a like great unknown with new people.
Yeah.
Because even if your friend talks someone up, like, oh, this is the best person ever.
True.
So-and-so is like this. And you meet them and you just don't vibe.
You just don't see that.
It's awkward.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God.
And in my head, I'm like, but Wendy said you were like bomb.com. Like, what's going on? Like, why are you?
And I'm like,
you are?
close curtain. I'm leaving now.
Show ended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So back to that question. It was. Wait, what was my question again?
I don't know actually what your question was.
I was thinking, if you're thrown into a situation where you haven't mentally prepared for something, do you think that having self-confidence... Okay, no, that's a stupid question.
No, I don't think it's stupid. Are you going to say, like, having self-confidence would help? Is that what it is?
Well, yeah. But it was a little bit more in-depth, like, do you feel like... How do you feel you would handle the situation if you had self-confidence versus if you didn't have self-confidence?
I think if a situation arose and, say, I wasn't mentally prepared, if I had self-confidence in myself, then I would probably deal with it pretty well.
Yeah.
Considering that I will sort of just be like, you know what, like, it is what it is, let me just face it, and what's the worst that could happen? Because that's usually the mentality someone would have if they're confident in their work or in what they do, because they know that they're always going to give it 100%, regardless what the outcome is. Like, if it goes to shit, it goes to shit, but that's something that you can't change, you know what I mean? Like, you're putting in 100%.
And you can't predict that outcome.
Correct.
And you can't, like you said, you can't change that outcome. So it's,
Exactly. So it's almost like meeting someone and, like you said, meeting someone new and you're just giving it 100%. If they don't like you, then they don't like you. You know what I mean? Like, what are you going to do? You can't force someone to like you.
Literally.
Yeah. So I think that's probably what I would do. But what about you? Do you feel like you have to be mentally prepared for a situation?
Oh, sometimes, especially with people, but especially because I'm like kind of introverted, I guess. With certain people, if I'm meeting them for the first time, or if I am like meeting new people, completely new people, I don't know anyone else there. Like, this happens to me fairly often actually, because I actually have a few different circles of friends. I get invited to different things. I have to mentally prepare myself. I have to be in the right frame of mind to channel my best self. I'll call it that. My best self. At my best energy, and if I'm not, oh man, like...
what's your best self? What does that mean? Just
like being able to be 100% present in a conversation, for example. And for me, it's usually directly correlated with tiredness. If I'm tired, I'm like, my time for you is, if I don't know you, it's like very minimal. I'm just, probably my attention span is just going to drift off and I'm going to look into space. And, I do that sometimes. Yeah. So I don't know if that's so much about self-confidence, but like energetic. It's an energetic thing. So I don't know.
But do you also think that it's something to do with how much you care about that person as well? Like, say, even if you're tired, but you care about someone, you sort of will make that excuse and be like, oh, you know what? No, like, I genuinely want to be here, but yes, I'm tired, but let me just try and be present.
Yeah.
But if you really couldn't give a fuck about who that person is, then obviously you're going to just clock out.
Yeah. Oh, that's a hard one, because for me, if I'm really tired and I'm like, there's been like when we had a trip down south together, there were moments where I was just super tired and I couldn't be around people. So I would just like go into my room and just quietly just rest or whatever.
When was this?
Oh, this was like at night. You guys
okay.
One of the first night I was so exhausted. I don't know, I had such a long week and everyone was sitting around just like socializing. And at that point, I was like, no, I'm going to go to my room.
You're like, bye, guys.
I think I literally said bye, guys. And it wasn't because I was like, I don't want to hang out with them. And I'm completely comfortable with you guys. It's just, I'm at that mental energy point where I'm like, I cannot have a good conversation with anyone right now. So I just go to my room. And I was like, I was thinking to myself, I hope no one takes this personally.
No, oh my God, no.
Okay, good.
God, no. I trust me. No.
Do you get those moments, or is that just me?
The whole getting tired and then sort of like that
social and mental energy for social interaction.
Yeah, and honestly, something that I really realized recently is that like I'm not the most present person in a conversation.
What do you mean?
I feel like I'm not. Like I've noticed that sometimes I might be on my phone, but I'm not messaging other people. Maybe I'm Googling what they've said, or like I'm like, you can see me physically pick up my phone when someone's next to me or whatever it is, but like, I just feel like maybe I'm not 100% present in that moment. And, like, I think that's something that, again, something else I have to work on. Because obviously it's quite disrespectful. Like, you don't want to be on your phone or not present when someone's genuinely there for you and they're sort of being present as well. Like, it's different if they pick up their phone and check something, like, and it's fine, you know? But if they're not doing that and they're sort of, like, just 100% giving the time to you and you're sort of like, oh, yeah, just give me a second, like, let me just message, blah, blah, blah. I just feel like maybe I'm not being present. And I've done that in the past.
Okay.
And I've been pulled up for when I'm at checkout. I'm like, you know, paying for something. I'm not really on the phone. Maybe I'm messaging someone quickly. Like, I've been told, oh, hey, maybe you're not present. Like, Rahul
really?
sort of said, oh, maybe it's quite disrespectful. Like, maybe you shouldn't do that. Like, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, I didn't know that. Like,
at the checkout?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I just didn't really think about it because I was just messaging someone and quickly I'm just like, yep, double tap, yeah, tap, and then I just yeet. Like, I don't really communicate too much to the checkout people. I might just be like, oh, hey, how's your day, or whatever. But that's pretty much it. I don't really tend to have a full-blown conversation.
I never have a conversation with them. I just say, how are you, and that's it. Yeah. And I don't know that they really want to have that either.
I don't think so.
Because they have to see like hundreds of people every day. Do you think they want to have a conversation with them?
Yeah, I don't know, but
I don't know.
That's something that I've realized, like, I need to work on a little bit more because I think you and Stephen are pretty good with being present.
Okay.
With someone, and that's something that, like, I definitely need to work on a little bit more.
No, I think you guys are always quite present. Oh, to me anyway. Well, there's obviously moments where we're all on our phones, but I think that's pretty normal. It's not like it's excessive. I don't find it excessive.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So in relation to self-confidence, do you feel like there was a situation in your life where you could have been a lot more confident and sure about yourself, but you weren't?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Oh, really?
All the time. There's always things. I was just thinking about this today before you came. Like, there are times I overthink the shit out of stuff. And it's to the point where it's like, the look on your face right now just says everything. Just like, I'm done with this bitch. And I will send messages to like Stephen and Sanjana and just be like, guys, this has happened. This tiny little thing. His hand moved. Does he like me?
Yeah.
He looked at me. Does he like me?
He looked at me sideways. Does he hate me? He wore my favorite shoes.
And you guys are like, oh my God. And I think that actually stems from like a lack of self-confidence in that situation. It's because I don't know what the outcome's going to be.
Yeah.
I don't know what the other person's feeling. So I'm just like, I just go into full-blown like overthinking mode because I think overthinking is a way of trying to regain control of a situation that you don't have control of.
Okay.
I honestly think that.
Is that because you think that... Wait, is it because you're sort of like planning out all the different possibilities of what could happen, so you sort of feel like you're in control if X, Y, and Z does happen? You're like, oh, okay, well, I already thought about this and I knew this was going to happen.
Sort of. Yeah, sort of. I kind of am like that as a person because it gives me like peace. And I think that if I didn't have, like a sense of knowing about things, I'm like, oh yeah, I know if this happens, I'm going to be okay. And then that, that worrying and that lack of self-confidence disappears because I know that this is going to be okay. Whereas in certain situations where I'm out of my depth and I don't know and I don't have an understanding, I've never been there before, or maybe I haven't, I just don't. I just lose it. Whereas in general life, I think that I'm a pretty confident person. Like, I'm quite self-assured. I feel like I don't need to prove myself to people, stuff like that. But then in this situation where I don't know what the other person's thinking. I'm like, so I think that's something I need to work on, and I don't really know exactly how.
I know, and that's what's so annoying as well. Like, just not knowing, because obviously there's different ways to work on it, but it's quite like subjective.
Oh yeah.
And not every single puzzle is gonna fit for each person. Not the same puzzle, sorry, it's gonna fit for each person. Like, there's different things that we need to work on in a different type of way. Yeah,
maybe it's something like digging a little bit deeper. It's like, your self-confidence issues will stem from something different to what mine are, because like you said before, your certain things are bleeding into other areas of your life.
No, I completely 100% agree. It's almost like positive affirmation, like and especially when you do, for example, when you have like lab rats, right?
Yeah.
And you're doing an experiment, You give them treats every day for their behavior. Like, obviously, you're trying to change their behavior, right?
Yeah.
Positive reinforcement, right?
Exactly.
So, if we take that analogy of like feeding the rat, in terms of humans being the rat and feeding being the social media, if you obviously see the same thing over and over and over again, your mind starts sort of like wondering, oh, maybe if I change my attitude or change the way I look, I'm going to look like that because this is what looks the best. Like, this is what my man likes. So this is what, you know, the crush that I have likes. Like, you know what I mean? It's almost like that. Like, but maybe not, it's not a positive reinforcement, obviously. It's quite like the opposite, to be quite honest.
Negative.
Yeah.
Imagine pre-social media days. Like, of course, there was like the prettiest girl in the school and everybody liked her and everybody wanted to be like her. But now I think it's that on like a worldwide global scale, and bring in like Facetune and Photoshop and shit like that, and you've got this monster of a thing that really kills your self-esteem and self-confidence, I think. But
no, I agree. And every Tom, Dick and Harry is using it these days.
Yeah.
And like, it's just like, why? And if someone promotes healthy lifestyle, or someone promotes like body positivity in any type of way, like, I feel like some of them are really shunned down. They're sort of like, oh, well, you know, why do you get to promote this? You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure you do this or you do that. They immediately put them down. And it's like, well, I don't think that's what they're trying to do. Like, in a world of where everyone's sort of just so fake, I think they're just trying to bring some sort of normality and like originality to it.
Yeah, I agree. Homegrown.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Oh man. But like, at the same time, like, I feel like social media did help in a way that sort of made me feel like, oh, there's a lot more people like me.
Okay.
You know?
That's good. That's a positive thing.
Yeah, like, in the sense that, like, there's a positive community on social media for people who might have anxiety, or people who feel like they are only child. Like, maybe they're like, oh, maybe I can connect to other people. Like, there's obviously some sort of positiveness to it.
Yeah.
Which I think is something that I do want to focus on a lot more than the other ones. But it's a bit hard, like you said, because everything's just so magnified.
Yeah, that's it.
That it does sort of bring you down a lot more than you think. Yeah. And even if you think it doesn't affect you, like, it actually does.
It would, definitely, like, subconsciously.
Oh my God,
like, oh, what is the most desirable, I don't know, hair colour to have?
Yes.
Body part to have. You know,
oh my God,
like
I think one time Kylie Jenner or Kim, I don't know who.
Here we go.
They were like selling this like butt creams. And it was like, you rub it on your butt and you like, it makes it bigger. And I was like, so me and my other friend.
Oh my God, I know this story.
We actually bought it, and like, let me just say that I think I used it a couple of times and I was like, I don't see a fucking change. I'm not using this anymore. I don't use it at all.
Can you take a photo and send it to me? I'm so curious.
I don't have it anymore, but I will send you the photo of the actual like cream. Like,
I'm asking for a friend.
Of course you are. Does that friend start with a W?
And then the rest of the name is Andy? Yes.
Andy? Yeah, so like, that's something that did influence me. I was quite lacking confidence at that time. And so I was like, oh, let me resort to something that someone else was using and they have a big butt. Like, let me do that. Like,
it's like, I want to be like that.
Exactly.
So let's have this cream that hopefully magically gives me a big butt.
And the saddest thing was, like, coming from a science background, like, I should have known. But I was like, nah.
Magic butt cream.
Yeah. Science just went out the window. And I was like, nah, not today, sister.
Oh my
great. God. But, so I was sort of like reading through a few things about self-confidence, and just how we can sort of like regain it back, and how do you actually keep it? Because one thing is to make the change, but obviously to continuously work on it, you know? And like the short-term goals or the long-term goals, obviously everyone has a different type of self-confidence that they need to work on. Let that be like maybe a lot more confident when speaking in front of people, or just how they present themselves, for sure. Or just in general their outlook in life. Like, is it confident or is it like very unsure? So obviously everyone has a different way of how they need to deal with things. But a few things I guess you could probably look into is sort of like breaking the bad ones. I love lists. I love making lists, like a pros and cons list. So I usually like to do like, what am I confident about? What am I not confident about? And sort of just make a list. Because for me, I'm a visual person. So if I don't see something in front of my eyes, I'm just going to be like, yeah, it's not there.
Yeah.
Call it ignorance, call it what you want to call it. But I just, for me, if it's not in front of me, like I just don't know. So, make a list. I think making lists are amazing. You can physically see like the length of the thing. So if, for example, if you're like, what makes me confident versus what doesn't make me confident, if your list is obviously longer on one side than the other, work on that. But that doesn't mean anything. Sometimes the weight of a certain situation can be a lot more than just saying, oh, I'm not confident in my arms. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's sort of like, what can we do about it? So
digging a little bit, like, correct. So your list is so that you can make a list of positives and things that make you feel confident, things that don't make you feel confident, and then digging a little bit deeper as to why each of those things are. Yeah. And to help you sort of understand and in turn like improve your self-confidence. Correct. Is that right?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. And I think
that's pretty good.
You think
I never thought of that. Yeah.
No, I love making lists, and I make lists all the time. Or you know what I used to do and I don't do anymore is I used to write letters to myself. So
dear Sanjana, you a bad bitch.
Oh my God,
Sanjana.
You keep doing you, girl. You got this.
I love that. That's so good, though. Yeah. I honestly love that.
No, I did, and I went back to this letter that I wrote myself, and it was actually a very sad letter. But, like, I wrote it, I think probably, like, 4 years ago. No, 3 years ago. And I think it was stated something like, oh, you only got yourself, like, you got this, or whatever, like, you can do this and stuff. And just looking back at it, I'm like, oh, I think the younger me would have been proud. Like, I think maybe write a few letters to yourself, and what you would probably say to yourself, put yourself in like a year's time, or even like, you know what, fuck it, 2 months, 1 month in time, because everything can change. So much can change. So that's probably something that I would probably do. I think for me personally, another thing is that like I like to dwell on things that I haven't been perfect at or I haven't been good at. So one thing that you can do to build your self-confidence is, let's just put that aside and let's just focus on what you did well on. One thing I ask my partner all the time, like every single day I've been doing this, is what was your favorite part of the day? And it could be anything. It could be like, oh, I went grocery shopping and I found the perfect carrot. The carrot was round. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
why is the carrot round?
I don't know.
No, okay, that's great.
Like, it was round and it was juicy. Like, it could be like the stupidest thing, but it's like, what's one of your things that happened today that was the favorite part?
Yeah,
and I do that every single day, because I just feel like I just want to focus and I just want to end the conversation on a positive note. So it kind of helps me.
Puts your focus in the positive thing.
Correct.
No matter how small it is.
Yeah,
right?
And just reflect on that.
That's so nice.
What was your favorite part of the day thus far?
Today? Well, I have 2 favorite parts.
Oh my God, I love that.
I saw my friends today for lunch, and I haven't seen them in a while, and they're really wholesome, and we had some really yummy Japanese food, and just like, they're just so wholesome, and they were just, you just know when people are there for you and they're there to listen, and then, you just got each other's backs. Like, it's just such a nice feeling. Yeah. And then when you came along, I'm like,
stop.
Like, no, really, it just makes me really happy.
Really? Oh, that is actually so sweet. I think my favorite part of the day is...
You don't have to say the same thing. I'm not going to be with them.
Oh, no, don't worry. I'll tell you. So this girl sends me her address. And then, like, her address, like, I think it's really weird. Like, I think the way your placement of where you live at the moment.
It's like Google Maps will take you weird.
Yeah.
It's like no matter, it does, I don't know.
And then I messaged her saying, like, I think you sent me the wrong address. And she was like, nah, I think you went to one in, like, Frio. And I was like, I just had a little giggle to myself. And I was like, no, girl, no. And I think that was kind of funny. And then I think another funny thing that, or my favorite part of the day was probably when I was in the car with my partner.
Yeah.
So he does this thing with his fingernails where he will like scratch my thigh. So when I'm wearing jeans, you could hear that like chalkboard type of like noise, and it just makes me so uncomfortable. And I kept telling him, don't do it. So I turned around and I just pinched him while we're in the car and we're driving, and like he just made the biggest noise and like biggest scream, sorry. And the car next to us just looked at us like, are these guys having domestic violence?
Wait, you have your windows open?
And I think it was slightly open, but he was like screaming. So I think that's probably,
That was your favorite part of the day. You're evil.
I am.
I love that.
Very evil. But it's like the little things, you know? Like, and I think, so the reason why I'm saying that is because like it's tying back to being grateful for
gratitude.
Having gratitude and being grateful for the little things. And it sort of does build up your confidence, saying, you know what, I feel confident in my friends. I feel confident that I'm able to have happy moments in my life, because not everyone's actually fortunate to have that. So I think that's something else that I sort of practice as well.
Yeah, me too.
Like obviously positive affirmations and stuff like that. One thing that I wanted to sort of like do better in my life as well is goal setting. So for confident-based goal setting, I could probably say that maybe have little goals. Be like, in the next 2 days, I want to change this habit of mine. Which can aid into my confidence. You know what I mean? Maybe, for example, I want to talk to 2 new people today, or I want to talk to a stranger, and even if it's I want to smile at a stranger. Do you know what I mean? Like little things like that. Like it can definitely boost your confidence. Like, I'm not saying that, you know, it's going to be 100%, but it'll make you feel better, and do something that makes you happy. Because if you do what makes you happy,
it just comes naturally.
It
just comes. I feel like when you start getting, you know, you start feeling good about these things, then the self-confidence just comes after that. It's just like a flow-on effect, I feel.
Correct.
I feel like it's more of a symptom than it's kind of more of like a branch of the root thing than a thing in itself, if that makes sense. Correct. Because if you're feeling really good about everything in your life, it's really hard not to feel self-confident about yourself, or you know, it starts bleeding into that, and you start feeling better. I've seen people like literally there's this guy that is in my group of another group of friends, and he was really, really timid before, very, very nervous person, didn't really have a lot of self-confidence, and anytime like he was in a group setting, I could just see him like he's like looking around, like sort of his shoulders are hunched in, and he's sort of like, you know, head down, hunched. Body language is like that, and he just clearly didn't have a lot of self-confidence. And when I talked to him, you know, he was a bit sad, you know, he was feeling a bit lonely. Someone had moved out, and he was doing the rent all by himself, and work was not treating him very well. And I was like, oh, you know, that's not very good and stuff, obviously. A couple of months later, he looks completely different. He's, you know, upright, he's standing really a lot taller, he's smiling. He's, you know, looking at people in the eyes and stuff when he talks to them. Just complete change in his whole body language. And I asked him, I was like, how are you doing and stuff? He's like, I'm doing so much better now. Like, he got a girlfriend. I think that she really helped him feel confident about himself as well. Like, reaffirm, you know, and she's been really good for him and stuff. And there's also been other things in his life, like he's got his rent, like, sorted out. And I think, honestly, it was those things that helped boost his self-confidence rather than him trying to fix it, you know, just by itself. Correct. But yeah, that's just, I just wanted to throw in that example.
Yeah, and that sort of like means that obviously you have a good support group, you know what I mean?
Also
like,
that, yes.
Like friends, family, like your dog, your cat, you know, whoever it may be. Like, just have a good like support group around you that can actually help you sort of, not even just help you, just check up on you once in a while. Like, you don't need someone to be there baby feeding you every single day, but it feels nice to, and it feels like, you know, at least you have that confidence that you have your friends. Yeah. And you have your family, or you have your pets, like, which can actually build your confidence in turn. So, yeah. Obviously, all these things take a long time. Yeah. Like, it's not just a one-day process. As impatient that I can be, and I want it done, like, straight away.
It's a process.
It's a process.
Yeah, and it's all from inside. Like,
yeah.
It's like an inside job. You got to keep on working on it.
Oh man, it's so mentally exhausting. But I think it's definitely worth it because it just helps you be a better you in the long run.
Yeah.
And if you can't be a better you, then you can't help someone else be a better person.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so true. Totally agree.
But, so hopefully you guys sort of find some sort of meaningful help in this conversation that we've had. Obviously, we're not professionals, so it's...
Take everything with a grain of salt. We're just two girls just talking shit.
Yeah, literally. So, hopefully this sort of helped in any type of way that you need to be. But let us know what situation or